What's going on, guys? We are on YouTube Live. Robbie Wheaton from Wheaton Arms and the Sootch and Sarah Max over at the computer helping out. And we really appreciate Robbie for being here. He really helps us out and really comes in, especially at gun issues. He was a gunsmith for over 20 years. He has WheatonArms.com. You need to check that out. They do some really cool custom work, but what they really shine is their Glock aftermarket parts. Yep. The flat face trigger for Glock is phenomenal with Wheaton Arms, and you can check that out. Also, Go Med Gear, which they carry a line of medical supplies, and there's a couple of things you have. We're gonna want to show it.
Yeah, sure. So we've got this is a basic first aid kit. Great for like your car, motorcycle, whatever. It's small, compact. It's got a ton of stuff in it, and then we have some of our expandable kits as well. And these are expandable too. So from like your basic all the way up through a pretty advanced medical kits, depending on your personal needs.
And trauma kits.
That's right. Prices start at around $20 and go up from there for the medical kits. Great stuff. Majority of the stuff in them is domestic. We use North American Rescue for a lot of our parts and accessories that go in our kits. So it's just top quality gear in them. Yeah,
and check out gomedgear.com. And we really appreciate, again, Robbie being here. Also, we thank Exotac for sponsoring today's episode. You can get 20% off. USA made, some of the best fire starters out on the market. And you use Sootch 20. Use the link down below. It is an affiliate link, but we do appreciate Exotac.
The hottest deal going.
This is the hottest deal going. Made in USA, down in Georgia. So it's really good. Those guys are great. I love those guys. All right, we're going to get into some stuff about losing the republic. Guys, I hope that you did watch Biden's address about the vaccine mandates. It was one of those things that we need to make sure our phones are off. It's one of those things that, I mean, to me, honestly, I watched it and I really tried to open up. I said, I'm going to open my mind up. I'm just going to kind of listen to what he's got to say. And guys, I'll tell you, it was like reading 1984. It's just this ominous, our patience is running thin. It's the unvaccinated's fault. Y'all are causing this, continuing this pandemic, and just a lot of blame and a lot of division. Now, you may be vaccinated. That's fine. And we're, that's your choice.
It's like the flu shot. A lot of people take it. A lot of people don't.
Right.
Some people that take it still get the flu. Some people that don't take it get the flu.
But
it's personal choice.
The thing is, a lot of the data, and I guess that's one of the biggest things is we're seeing a lot of just things thrown out there that are just not factual. Mm-hmm. And you can find them, through the CDC. You can look at all that information. So I've had COVID. It's not fun, but it wasn't terrible for me. But, it's just one of those things where, it's out there and a lot of people are getting it. But, to be forced to do anything is just against all of our freedoms. It's like Ben Franklin said, those who will exchange a little liberty for a little security deserve neither liberty or security. Mm-hmm. And, guys, it's just one of those things to force people. And, while the majority of people have gotten the vaccine, then you're protected. I mean, yes, you can get it again, but supposedly it's not that bad if you have the vaccine. So, guys, for the unvaccinated, the other unfortunate thing is there's a lot of people that are quitting. They're resigning. They're leaving their jobs. They're choosing not to take it. And we've already got a shortage especially in nurses. Our medical industry right now is really short on nursing, and you're having a lot of people that are leaving. So, it's one of those things that whether you had the vaccine or not, we should never force people to do anything. That was one of the things with the Nuremberg Accords and the Hague Conference.
Yep.
Was a lot about what the Germans did during World War II and forcing vaccinations, especially experimental. And, that's one of the things. It's international law. And so, we're going to have to see how this plays out. I know 21 governors have come up and said, we're not doing that. I know the governor of South Carolina, particularly Henry McMaster, who said, I'm encouraging you to go out and get the vaccine. I'm encouraging you, but it'll be he said, we'll fight to the gates of hell before we force it on anybody.
That's right.
And that to me is the proper stance. And so, wear your mask if you want, do your social distancing, keep your hands washed. That's one of the biggest things. Keep your hands away from your face.
That's the biggest thing that I've seen. Like with any transmittable disease like that, any kind of virus, the flu, the cold, all of that, the majority of your viruses like that enter your body through your face, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. And where are our hands all the time? We're rubbing our eyes, we're touching our nose, we're touching our mouth. So keeping your hands clean, keeping your hands off of your face as much as possible is gonna really help to mitigate you ingesting any of these viruses and getting them into your body.
But the fact is as a constitutional republic, and that's, we don't live in a democracy. A democracy is mob rule, and we live in a rule of law. And we're to protect individual freedoms. It's not the majority what they want, it's individuals. And that's why we have minorities in this country that share equal rights with us. That's right. They should, because we live in a state of rule of law. And it's very important. And we need that balance that we have with our federal government. Okay, another big one right now, and of course that's something that there's a lot of fuss about. In fact, we're going down to Columbia this Saturday, or no, it's Friday. We're going down there. They're having a big protest. They're doing a big gathering in support of McMaster's and against the vaccine mandates. So it's one of the things that we're trying to really do, and to be active. And guys, that's one of the main things, is to be active and to show your support.
One of the big things that I wanted to talk about today and bring up to you guys, especially all of you in California, you have the your recall election going on in California today for Gavin Newsom, your governor. Guys, girls, please make sure that you get out and vote today. This is probably one of the most important elections or recall elections that your state has ever had. Take the time, go to your polls, make sure that you vote today. It is absolutely imperative for the longevity and continuing success of your state for you guys to get out and vote.
Right. And speaking of vote, that's one of the things, guys, with all the voter integrity, our election integrity, and I think 18 states now have enacted laws to protect the vote and to really watch and to be able to have an oversight over the vote. And I think that's important. Listen, whether the vote was wrong or right, I mean, whether it was misjudged, we all have different opinions about it. There's a lot of people that are critical. There's a lot of people that are like, hey, the elections were fair. And that's fine. But we still need to have that accountability. And as many people that have raised questions, it should at least be addressed. Because here's the thing, guys, the shoe can be on the other foot. And so we really need to make sure that that is one of the basics, is our voting rights. We have to, the UN will run into a country in a heart drop of a hat, and make sure that the polls are being observed and make sure that, it's a fair election. And so it needs to be the same here in the U.S. We need to have integrity, but we also need to have confidence in our vote. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I might as well not vote. Yes, you better. And we need to really, hopefully this will just peak things for the next election.
That's right.
To where people are really watching and they're being more accountable. Because there are a lot of unanswered questions. And to me, you know what, if there's a large enough group of people going, hey, there's something going on here, at least calm their fears if there's nothing to look at.
That's right.
And let's go ahead and show it the way it is.
Well, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't hide anything.
Right.
So
right.
You can be open, you can be transparent with the entire process, everything that's going on, whether it's paper ballots, whether it's electronic, whether it's machine, whatever. Everything should be very open and very transparent for anyone that wants to look in, that wants to watch, that wants to see what's going on.
Right.
So, and that helps to build confidence and helps to build integrity back into our voting system.
Right. That's right. And again, guys, voting that really separates us from a lot of other countries. We have got to make sure that we have that integrity. It's just very important. So since we got into voting, I thought we'd bring that up. Okay. One thing that has come up recently is the American Family Plan. Now, this is something that there's some actual good things in this. There's some things that help different families and with their taxes, with different accounting, with whatever. But the one thing that's really kind of scary is they're really wanting to beef up the IRS. They want to beef them up, and that's part of this as well. And then anything where you make a transfer from one bank to another that's over $600, they're to report it to the IRS. And guys, it's traditionally been $10,000. Now, here's the thing, guys, and this is the deal about just losing our republic. We have gotten under all these different scrutinies because of organized crime, drug, running, different money laundering and different things. And unfortunately, the more we try to stop that, the more we're putting a burden on American people, the American public. Because, the fact is these organized crimes and the drug cartels and all this stuff, they have ways to still get around these laws. And yet now we have all the laws put on us, and we have more scrutiny. And then the more that we, just as individual citizens, we may make some little mistake, and then we have the whole force of the federal government coming down on you. And that is not right. It's just not right. One of the things they're really trying to do is to curb PayPal and Google Pay and Venmo and all those different type ways to be able to process money electronically. And that's really where they want to watch. But it's traditionally been on the honor system. And now, guys, it's getting intrusive on our freedom and our privacy. And privacy, we've already lost a lot of privacy. I mean, for me, all the money I get is typically all the money we get is electronic. So they can see it, I mean, they have a statement of our income. When we file our taxes, they can monitor it to a point. And that's fine, whatever. But, and really that's not even fine. But, the fact is this is getting more and more, tightening the noose around your privacy, around the things you want to do. And guys, we've got to get in touch with your congressmen and senators. We have got to stop this American family plan, because it is a very dangerous, overreaching kind of legislation.
I love the way that they use these very homey names. It's a very comfortable, it's a very feel-good name that they use for these bills, like the American Family Plan. It sounds so good on the surface. This is something that's great. We're helping out the Americans. We're helping out their families. it's just, we're all about doing good. But then once you start reading down into it, you realize how untrue that is.
Right.
It's like it would be like buying a magazine that says guns and ammo on the cover and open it up and it's American Homes. American Home and Garden. You're like, what? This has nothing to do with
Moms Demand Action.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with what I wanted to read about. Well, it's kind of the same thing with this. They've got this great title up there, real snappy and catchy, grab your attention. But then once you start reading down into it, it's nothing like what the title is.
How can you be against American families?
I'm all for American families.
All for. That's why I'm fighting this thing. It's a overreach.
And here's the thing. It's not that I'm just all for American families. I'm all for the church helping the community, your church, your outreach communities, your outreach programs within your communities, and doing it on a grassroots level, on a local level, on a county level, but not something that is federally mandated, and the federal government controlling what should be done in your own communities.
Well, the millions of dollars that get put into that typically don't even make it to the street.
That's right.
And, that was for years, we worked at food pantries, we've worked with the homeless, we've done a lot of stuff like that. And, it's great to be able to help other people. But yeah, with the federal mandates, with the government coming in, it really screws things up. So, all right, now this is another big one. And we're going to take some questions. If you guys have some comments or questions, I know this is a little bit heavy today. We just, honestly, with everything that had come on, we wanted to we just really needed to talk about some of these things, because guys, we have got to stand and fight for our rights. And the founding fathers said this all through their writings and their papers. And
make sure those of you in California, make sure you get out and vote in the recall election today.
Yeah, it's definitely important. Okay, free speech. Now, I was listening to Victor Davis Hanson. And great thinker, great, just a brilliant mind. And one of the things he said, because he is a teacher, he is a professor, and I believe it's at Stanford. And he is one of the lone conservative thoughts there, and really has to face a lot. But one of the things he said is we have free speech. We can say whatever we want to. Mm-hmm. But the consequences of standing on free speech have gotten really dangerous. So let's say I get up in my class and I go, abortion. I'm against abortion and blah, blah, blah. And these are some points about it. He said immediately half the class would walk out. The other half of the class would be down at the front raising Cain. He'd end up in just by saying, this is what I think, this is what I believe. Yes, he has the free speech to do it, but the consequences have gotten out of hand. Just like with the Second Amendment. He said, if I say something about the Second Amendment, same thing. Half the people leave, the other half come down, they're raising Cain. He said, we've gotten into this. One thing that this was really funny. I was watching Dennis Prager, and he was interviewing this girl that had escaped from North Korea and actually went across into China, became a sex slave for a number of years, and then got into South Korea, came to the U.S., went to college and got a lot of degrees. And it was the same college or university that Dennis Prager went to. And she said she was sitting there listening, and the teacher and then all the students even were talking about how they're oppressed and we live in the worst place ever and America's oppressive and all this stuff. And she said, whoa, she goes, you don't know about oppression. And she said it frightened her, because she said the way they're talking is exactly like what is happening in North Korea, and we're moving to that. And so our educational system is stifling freedom of speech, these safe spaces, and they're running conservatives out. Guys, we need a debate. You know what? You may be super conservative, dead set, what you believe, but you still need to listen to what other people are saying and at least have a dialogue and be able to talk about it. And so knowing some of their sides is a lot to do with it. And so, we need that debate. We need those different voices coming in. But unfortunately, we're getting to this one side. And if you disagree with this one side, you're the outcast.
You just get shouted down.
Right. Yep. You just get shouted down. Okay. And then let's go next to, speaking of shouted down, we've got the police, the defund the police, which is still being carried out. There's a big movement, especially in a lot of the urban areas. Guys, you've got to have that blue line. There's a saying, it says that man has to be controlled. It's either self-control or it's force. It's one or the other. And we've got to make sure that we realize that either we've got to have self-control or we've got to have people out there that are keeping control of those that have no self-control.
Well, and it gets harder and harder in our society, the way our society is today, with people that have no moral compass. They have no direction, no internal conviction about what's right and what's wrong, because they have no faith. They have, they've completely turned their back on Christianity. They've got no faith. They've completely lost their way. And their life is all about doing what I want to do to make me happy right now, today.
Right.
And, don't care about anybody else. Nobody else matters. It's all about me, me, me.
We've always lived in this culture. There's been this American culture.
Yep.
And, you could believe however you wanted to, but there were certain norms that people accepted.
That's right.
And it's that way in different countries. You take Japan, for instance, a very strong culture, and it unites those people together. And there's certain things that you just don't do, or you're outside of the culture and you get kind of shunned. Yeah. And unfortunately, we have lost all of that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying everybody has to be the same, because they don't. We have freedoms. But when you just completely disregard all of our foundations and our traditions, what have you got left?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it in America that makes us all together unified as Americans? If we're tearing down this and that, and we're destroying history, and we're destroying our monuments, and we're doing whatever, what is the glue that holds us together?
Yeah, there is none.
There's none. It's not about race. It's not about even heritage. I mean, it's beautiful that we have different races that can come together. Mm-hmm. I'm walking to, our local supermarket. I walk in there to pick up something. There's this black couple sitting there. They're doing their thing. There was this Latino couple. They're doing their thing. There's no animosity there. They don't even really notice it.
That's right.
or an Asian couple or Asian people walking through. It's like everybody's fine. Nobody's causing any problems. There's no anger or hate. I mean, it happens, but on the whole, most people are just want to live their life.
That's right.
And so what are we doing? We're separating these groups. We're separating them farther and farther. And then we don't have any cohesion. And you tear down the Constitution, that's what brings us together, is the rights of man. You know what? As a people, whether you're black, white, whatever race you are, you can look at these things are self-evident. You know, a lot of people, a lot of this mantra right now is that, you know, this white privilege and all this stuff. I didn't grow up in privilege. I grew up just like, you know, I mean, my parents just sometimes they barely got by. And, you know, it's not about that. It's about work, hard work, free enterprise system, opportunity. You have to take your opportunities. You shouldn't be given stuff. I was taught that you don't just you just don't take stuff. You work for what you earn. And, you know, that's like with this COVID thing, you know, with these checks that keep coming. And, you know, to me, I work.
That's right.
I do what I have to do. Now, some companies closed down and people needed money to pay their rent and pay their bills. I understand that. But for me, don't want it, didn't take it. And I'm not going to take it. But I mean, and I'm not condemning you for doing that, but I'm just saying we have had this free enterprise, it's brought on a lot of inventions, a lot of ingenuity. It's brought on a lot of things that we've been able to make our, you know, the way we live even better.
That's right.
And, you know, we're losing our culture altogether. And I don't know how we got into that from deep on the police, but we did.
A free society, innovation thrives in a free society.
Right, right.
In a communistic or socialistic society, innovation dies. It does not thrive. And that's one of the things that you're starting to see in this country is innovation is just taking a back seat. You know, we've given up our manufacturing. We've given up we're not producers anymore of a lot of different things. You can see it in the automotive industry, where a lot of the things that we purchase for our cars, we purchase from overseas. Some of the chips and a lot of things that make those vehicles run, well, now we can't get them. And now our automotive industry is basically tanked because we can't get a $2 chip from a foreign country, right, because we don't produce here in the United States anymore.
Right.
If we were producing those things here in the United States, like we used to 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a lot of this stuff was made here. We had those jobs here. We had that production here. And our manufacturing and our economy was very strong and stable because of it. But because we've outsourced all of our production, all of our manufacturing overseas, and then we just take the parts and put them together here in this country now with a lot of different things, we're seeing our country start to slow down and stall, our economy starting to slow down and stall because we don't have the items that we need to be able to be producers every day.
Right, right. Now, if you guys have some questions or you have some comments, Sarah Mac's over there monitoring things. We may be on such a heavy subject that everybody's like, man, this is just like, ooh. I do want to talk, though, about terrorism and what we've seen. You know, I think one of the things that has been a move to go ahead and do these vaccine mandates is to take the attention off of what just happened in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people feel that way. You know, we've seen, of course, the abandonment of American citizens. We've seen abandonment of tons of military equipment, you know, and small arms and even aircraft. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that was left over there.
Weapons of war.
Yeah, weapons of war. And yet they're trying to take away our Second Amendment. They're going to give it to the Taliban. But here's the facts. Unfortunately, we have a huge vacuum now in Afghanistan, which we needed to get out of Afghanistan. I don't think anybody wanted to stay in Afghanistan. I think it was just the way it was done by pulling the military out, just left us, you know, weak-handed. But here's the thing, guys. Now we've got greater threats than we had before. We just watched 9/11. We just saw what, you know, 20 years ago we went through. Mm-hmm. And, you know, those things can happen again. And we've just made it easier for them to train, easier for them to organize, easier for them to be prepared to launch something against the U.S., which we've been at war with them for 20 years. They've lost sons and daughters and husbands and fathers and everything else. There's a lot of anger over there.
You know, one of the things that's always concerned me is just because Our government has said, okay, we're done with Afghanistan. We're finished with that war. Washed our hands with it, turned our backs, we walked away. They're not. They're not done with that war.
No.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that worries me the most is we just turned our back on it. We're like, okay, all right, good job. Appreciate y'all. We're done. We're out. Well, they're not done with that war. The Afghanis are not done with that war.
No, they're still fighting in the war.
Yes, they are. And now with our open borders that we have in this country, where anyone can just pour across the border into our country, it's very easy for a terrorist to be able to infiltrate our country to be able to do a lot of bad things.
Right. Now, this is the thing. George Bush just got up, had a speech, said that while Al-Qaeda was terrible, the homegrown terrorism here in the U.S. is just as great of a threat. They're moving toward that, guys. If you don't toe the line with the way they think, we're labeled terrorists. If you believe in the Second Amendment, if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe in what the Declaration of Independence says, you're now on that list. What happened in January 6th was kind of dumb. A lot of those people that did things, but there was a lot of wrong on both sides. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, guys, is they've blown this way out of proportion. The FBI, their number one mandate, and I think they've kind of dropped it now, but at first it was January 6th when they had Portland riots in Seattle and in different places in California, and different groups, Antifa, BLM, stirring up and causing a lot of problems against our own country.
We're taking over government buildings in those cities and states.
Right, taking over federal buildings, but it wasn't the House. Yeah, that was the problem. And, that's the thing. But regardless, guys, we're being labeled into terrorists. And if you disagree with the main line, you're starting to be put in that box. Just like with what Joe Biden's speech was, it was more like the vaccinated are the problem. The vaccinated are the problem. Man, that's the same thing that Hitler did with the Jews in Nazi Germany.
The unvaccinated.
I mean, the unvaccinated, the unvaccinated. Let me get this straight. So, all right. So then now we're also moving towards socialism, which, is a big stick in the eye. One of the things about socialism too, and Robbie really touched on this a minute ago, but let's just take the gun industry, for instance. Mm-hmm. You have a nice gun. Some people complain. They go, we don't need another striker fire double stack pistol. We got too many already. But you know what? We have all these new ones coming out all the time, and it's innovation. And you know what? If that's not what's needed, that company will go away. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing that, though. We're seeing that more and more different models, different upgrades, different things, red dot sights, different kind of double stack magazines like SIG. I mean, that was a very innovative move for SIG.
Absolutely. The 365.
And it was motivated because of demand. It was motivated because of supply and demand. And people wanted something like that. Mm-hmm. SIG came up with it. They brought it out. Then Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Taurus, Kimber, a number of different companies came together and put their own version out. Mm-hmm. And it was really funny. One guy in one of the comments, he said, when Kimber came out with theirs, because they're one of the last here lately that's offered a pistol, and said, why in the world would you come out with a compact double stack magazine pistol? Why in the world would you want to do that? There's already 6 or 7 out there. And I told him, I said, if I was a gun company and I didn't have a double stack little subcompact 9mm, mm-hmm. I would be working feverishly to put one out because I wanted to be part of the market. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing here, guys. The more we have free market, the more that capitalism moves, the more innovation we have and the better life is. Take the computer, for instance. The IBM computer took up 3 or 4 floors and just huge, massive computers. Yep. And now my computer right here, this little phone, is more powerful.
That's right.
More powerful than all those things with the IBM. This is innovation, and this is what we get when we have a free market. And other countries actually benefit from that. Microsoft, all those different things. So, it's just one of the things that we got to be careful not to get on that bandwagon. And guys, if you're in business for yourself, you understand about free market more than anybody. All right. It's 12:30. You guys just gonna stay quiet. I guess we just have to keep. Okay, we got some questions. Okay, good.
Banjo Spence asks, what is the best state to be in when all this goes down?
Well, I would look for states that are the most free. There are states out there that are protecting the rights of their citizens. South Carolina is one of them, and we're being inundated with people pouring into our state, one of the fastest growing states in the country. Texas, obviously, they're really pushing to do some things, and the mindset there, the laws, that's one of the biggest things. And
Florida with Governor DeSantis.
Yeah, Florida, definitely
in Florida.
A tremendous. Yeah, people are pouring into that state. And people are leaving California because of a lot of but the problem is, guys, and this is one thing, and I know most of you that are watching this are probably not of this mindset, but the problem is we have people that are leaving certain states because they can't stand it any longer, and they want to bring that same mindset to these other states that are more free. And so, we need to really be educated. A good friend of mine, he and his wife just moved down from Minnesota. Got another friend of mine moving down from New York City or New York State, and they are very conservative minded. When they moved, they were looking for a state that was very conservative. So I would look for a state. Tennessee is an excellent state for that. Georgia is a great state, but because of Atlanta, it can kind of float. It can float a little bit. But I would look for states that, again, preserve the liberties of their citizens and that are willing to fight for it.
Jeff Gilbert says, question, I know you must have lots of bags and backpacks. How the heck do you store the ones you aren't using at the moment? I'm having that problem. Thanks to you, LOL.
All right. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, believe me, I understand that. One thing we have are wall racks. We have wall racks and we hang them so I can see them. Because one of the problems with backpacks or any kind of packs is they get put somewhere and they get stacked up, and then you lose them. We have a storage that we have that we keep different things in to keep organized that we're not using on an everyday basis. Another thing I do with a lot of my stuff, and this is just for me, is I give it away. I give away a lot of stuff. And we do on Patreon especially. We do a lot of giveaways. It's just nice to be able to do. I can't really do it with YouTube and Facebook because it's just so vast and it's so big. So we just don't really do that. But with Patreon and then, of course, a lot of friends, in fact, my brother, I told him the other day, he had his car broken into and the backpack was taken out with his go bag, all of his stuff, his emergency essentials at the mall. So they take the bag, they take it out. He's like, man, he goes, I just hate, I got to go back and get it. And I said, well, hey, do you need another backpack? He goes, dude, you've already given me 3. I said, well, okay, I'm just checking. So, but yeah, I like to have wall racks. They're really easy to hang and you can see them right there. And that to me is the best way. Otherwise they stack and you don't even know what you have.
And we do the exact same thing at home. And we have different bags that have different things in them for different situations, and they stay hung up on the wall rack in our garage. And that way, if you've got, if we're going on a day trip, you can grab a bag that's got everything in it for the day trip. If we're going on an extended car ride, we'll grab the one that's got the car ride stuff and has our medical stuff in it for the car ride.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. These are the bags I'm kind of talking about, though, for me, are just like bags that are not necessarily in use, but I like and I use occasionally. Now, bags that are in personal use, like I have my go bag, my get home bag, it stays in my car.
Yep.
In fact, everyone in our family has one. It stays in their car. My bug out bag, which I'm not big on bug out, but I mean, that is something you need to have some plan for, but that's not something that's a primary. That's like down here, it's an emergency. But one video that I've been working on, actually, I need to go ahead and finish it up, is staging your gear and having the essentials, like if you like plate carriers and you have that kind of stuff, have a setup to where you can keep everything right there where you need it. And that some of that would have to do, excuse me, let me poke you with my finger. Some of that would have to do with, being organized.
Tucker Smallwood says, hey, Sootch, hey, Robbie, tuning in from Georgia here. Just wanted to say that I'm a huge fan and supporter of all you guys do. How can we better focus on preparing during all this left-wing chaos?
Well, first off is be politically active, especially in Georgia, and but here in any state, it doesn't matter because people's hearts can be turned. So stay politically active. One of the things we do is we have recurring emails that we send out to different representatives, and we keep it going. We do call. Lindsey Graham here, he has to be held to the fire. He can be super conservative. He can be super out here. So, we try to kind of keep that going. And that is number one. But number two is make sure you have your basic necessities together. your food. Make sure that not only you have some water, but what are you going to do if you run out of water?
Yep.
Water is number one. I was almost finished with it. I've got bought some whiskey barrels and put a pitcher pump on it and hooked them up to our gutter system. And we're going to have rainwater catchment in these whiskey barrels. And they are solid, and we have the blue barrels that in fact, I've got to redo my blue barrels in the back.
Keep the mash in the back in those.
Yeah. Another thing is have your medical supplies. And guys, if you are in the unvaccinated camp, I'm just going to say this. I would definitely look to getting some extra medical gear.
Yep.
Because we have already had people, even in our area, that have been denied medical care because they were unvaccinated.
Well, that's one of the things you're going to start seeing, and you're already seeing it in the hospitals, where the hospitals are becoming overwhelmed and they're turning people away. You go to the hospital, you've got a cold, you've got the flu, maybe you've got pneumonia, you've got a cut, you've got a broken arm, and because they're so overwhelmed with people, they're turning people away and sending them, you're going to have to go somewhere else. We can't take you here. So being able to have your own medical supplies at home and being able to take care of yourself and be more self-reliant is an absolute imperative.
But really, that's the point, is self-reliance. Yep. And I would look, guys, into growing a garden. Mm-hmm. I would really look at that, because that is another thing that gives you some stability. You may have some food stored up, but having got the fresh vegetables and those kind of things makes a big difference.
Roy Batty asked, did you see Ron DeSantis' speech against the mandates?
Yes, I did, and he is a true leader, and he's having to fight for everything, but it's really great to see people that are willing to step up, because here's the problem. Anybody that steps up, they get the full brunt of that left side. So yeah, DeSantis, I love him. I don't think he's going to run for 2024. I think he's kind of said he's not. But I think that is in the cards, maybe a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But he is definitely very smart and very strong.
I tell you what, if you don't know about Ron DeSantis and know who he is, you really owe it to yourself to do a Google search on him.
Yes.
He's a former SEAL Team 1 guy. I mean, he has been there and done that throughout the world. He is a true constitutional conservative. He is a very, very pro-American governor.
Right.
He is somebody that we all need to be behind and supporting.
Right. I definitely agree with that.
Gracious 48 asks, how do I store propane tanks not shed yet? They are in my garage.
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, they're pretty good about being safe, the way that they use them. And of course, you can go to grocery stores, gas stations, whatever, and they'll have those in cages, where you can use them. So they're a lot more stable than gasoline.
That's right.
Storing gasoline is one of those that's really kind of tricky, and you got to be careful.
They've got overpressure valves on them, pop-off valves, to where if they build up too much heat and build up too much internal pressure, it'll pop a valve and release it, which is not necessarily a great thing if it's inside your garage.
But then it explodes.
But exactly.
You don't allow to match.
That's right.
Yeah, but I would make sure that it stays in a cooler area, out of the sunshine. Just keep it, that's one of the things a lot of times, people keep their propane tanks out on their grill, which I can be guilty of this. We just cover it.
Yep.
But, yes, I think that storing propane is actually one of the safer ways. But, if you want to build a shed,
that's right,
or some kind of lean-to.
I was just going to say that little lean-to shed to be able to store them under.
And, keeps them out of the sun, and then it keeps them right away from your house in direct contact. So I think that would be one, because you don't want for somebody to inadvertently turn one on.
That's right.
And then of course, the good thing is you can smell it. But I would look at maybe getting it maybe just away from your house. But I think they're pretty safe as far as storage.
Magic Prepper says, question, what steps would you suggest people take to ensure their preps are secured and safe from unauthorized access?
Well, one thing, and if y'all hadn't checked out Magic Prepper's channel, it's really good. I just have to say that. One thing that personally I do is to separate my food, especially my essentials. We have a store that we have, in fact, right here, I have long-term food storage right here in the bunker. But then we also have food stored not only in our pantry, but we have a room. In fact, we call it the grocery store. And we have shelves, and keeping it rotated is a big thing. But, as far as, keeping your mouth zipped is probably the number one thing, because if you're not careful, you get to talking to people and they start to know what you have. But I think having your food in a couple of different locations is really vital. Same thing with your firearms, keeping your firearms. I mean, we have safes right here, but also have safes that are inside that, kind of divert. So if anybody comes in, I would also say having a really good security system, because it limits the time. I mean, you can get into anywhere.
That's right.
And you can get into a safe. Most safes, you can take a regular circular saw and zip the side of it. But it limits their time. Police typically are on the way.
Yep.
So, but the security system is a big one. We just got Ring, even though we had cameras already mounted. I mean, we've kind of gone overboard with security, but I think it's warranted.
Well, I like layered security too. You've got your outer perimeter security. That's alarm activated. You have camera systems. Then you have your locks on your doors, and then you have an internal alarm in the house. And each one of those is going to give you a earlier and earlier and earlier warning that somebody with nefarious intentions are messing around your property. So I'm a big proponent of layered security systems.
But I think the big thing with food security and with your essentials is to have it in multiple locations. We also have a storage that's a cache where now it's not heat controlled, but there's a lot of places that actually are temperature controlled. But we keep a lot of long-term food stuff and just basic supplies if for some reason we can't get back to our house. So, again, like Robbie said, it is a layered approach, and I think that is the safest bet.
Slipwreck asks, so if everything is on a wall rack, your bags, what system do you use to put everything in a go bag in an emergency situation?
Well, first thing, I use the rule of threes. You can live only 3 minutes without air, and this is just in general. 3 hours in harsh conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So first thing I do is make sure that I have, and then self-defense and medical overflow. It flows around. So you need to have your medical and your self-defense. You need to have a way to protect yourself, your family, and your possessions. So what I first do is make sure that I have, maybe something, some kind of mask or a bandana or something to keep the dust and smoke and things like that. That's the way I think about air. Of course, masks are everywhere now, so you can pack a couple in there. That's the only way I'm going to wear a mask. But secondly, you have your some kind of blanket, space blanket, something to keep your body core warm in an emergency. My brother was up. In fact, he just told me this week, which we're going to have him on coming up. He's a big fisherman. He goes all over the place, and he has all these cool things. They call him the Boy Scout because he prepares. It's really funny. But what he did, he was out way up in the mountains fishing, trout fishing, and was going to spend the night. Well, he forgot something, and he got really cold. But he had like 6 or 7 jackets stuffed in the back in his trunk, and he pulled them all out, and he put all of them on, and he wrapped up in them. I mean, it got down to 10 degrees, and he improvised. But you need to make sure you have some kind of way to keep warm. And then water. Water's vital. Water's vital. Food is not as vital, but it helps to keep your energy up. So food is very important.
It helps with morale as well.
It does. It does. But, lifeboat food is one of my favorites to keep in our go bag because it has 3,600 calories and it's real small, tastes great, and it doesn't make you thirsty because it's made for lifeboat. So those are the first things. And a good knife, having a good knife. I have some videos about go bags, bug out bags. I've got a ton of them. And I would go and look and see. They've evolved over the past few years, but it'll give you a lot of ideas. And because I like to look at other ideas because there may be something I want to change, something I want to use, a new piece of kit. Those are some things that you need to think about. One thing that I've added to my go bag is a pry bar. And one of the things about the pry bar is if I'm stuck in my vehicle, if I'm, somebody's under a tree or something falls on them, I can get that pry bar out and get some leverage. May not be able to work it, but at least I've got some way to get some leverage.
Autumn Greenleaf asks, if people leave a blue state to seek freedom, welcome them. What if it were you? Wouldn't you want the same?
Yes, and we do. And we do. We have, like I said, we have friends that have just moved from Minnesota. They're family now. I mean, they're awesome.
Yep.
We love them to death. Another friend of ours and his wife are moving from New York. We had dinner with them the other night. They're just incredible people. And, you know, yes, you need to welcome them. And two, you know, you need to have these people and get involved with them, and then, you know, build friendships. And a lot of times you can they kind of change their mind. I have a guy that's on my Patreon. He's one of my patrons. And he told me, he said, you know, I was living in England. He goes, I was anti-gun, didn't want a gun. He said, I moved to New York. And he goes, didn't change. He goes, you know, didn't want a gun, didn't like guns, whatever. He said, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. My job took me to Atlanta, Georgia. And he said, one time I was walking into a doctor's office and it said, no concealed carry. And he said, he went, what? No concealed carry? They have to put a sign up for that? Started doing some research, found some of my videos. In fact, he told me, he goes, I found your videos. Started watching these videos about shooting. He said, wow. He went out and bought a gun. Now he's not as bad as I am, but he has a number of guns. He and his wife both have concealed carry. They are bought and sold Second Amendment supporters. Yep. They're into freedom. They're really doing. And so, you know, you can influence people. Sometimes they don't even know the freedoms they're missing. They don't realize it because they've been told certain things. So yes, when people come in, won't accept them, you know, even if they're diehard left, I'll put it that way. Liberals, liberal, that's fine. But left is left, and I'm not for left. So, you know, you can still have some influences there. So yes, I agree with that 100%.
Julie asks, Sensible Prepper, have you done a video on what you have in your bag if you have to bug out?
Yes, but it's been a while. And I had planned to do a bug out bag, but I've been backing up so much because this is the thing. You know, my go bag, my get home bag, it can serve as a light bug out bag. Mm-hmm. I have I have space blankets. In fact, I have updated with, you know, their tarps with the Mylar inside. So they're even better. I can really, you know, get comfortable. I have my food, my water, my medical kits, you know, those kind of things, maybe some extra magazines if I need them. And so that basically, with a bug out bag, you just kind of increase it. Maybe you put a nice stove in there to be able to cook some food. You have extra water. But here's the facts. When you are on the bug out, you are a glorified refugee. And you're vulnerable where you're going. Now, if you're in a city, if you're in an urban area, your chances of bugging out increase greatly to your need to bug out. But you need to have a location. But yes, I've got videos on it, but it's really just taking your get home bag and upgrading it for maybe 3-4 days.
That's right. More longer term.
Yeah. For me, my get home bag is about a 24-hour bag. I can throw my stuff in there, put it on my shoulder. If for some reason there's something that happens, God forbid, that I have to abandon my vehicle. But see, the real thing is, if you're going to really bug out, you need to have a big, this is funny. John Lovell did this. It was really fun. He got this big old huge trailer. He said, I'm going to fill that thing up to the rim because, you know, he said, I'm going to have it filled up. Now, the problem with that is he's out on the road and there he is. He's super vulnerable, super vulnerable. So I really, my big plan is bug in. And if you live in a city or an urban area, you need to have somebody that's kind of like-minded or somebody you can trust, whether it's family that's fairly close, not too far, that you can get to. And, you know, and then maybe you have some things stored there. But, you know, the big thing about bugging out, honestly, is thinking ahead.
That's right.
And maybe planning ahead and having some things set aside ahead of time. That to me is the real way to bug out. And
not waiting until it's too late to bug out.
Right.
You know, read the signs, see what's going on, watch what's happening, watch the news, watch the demographic and everything that's going on within your community, and get out before things get really bad. Don't wait until things started popping off and then try and get out when the roads can be blocked. There's tons of people in the city trying to evacuate and escape at the same time. The roads are blocked and you're stuck there. So watch things and make sure that if you're going to bug out, that you get out ahead of the curve.
Right. Because the thing is, it's just like with toilet paper. We bought our toilet paper before the panic. Mm-hmm. So we bought it because I knew what was kind of happening over in China. And so we're here. Then when this happens, when panic sets in, it's too late. So be aware of your local news. If you're living in an urban area or an area that's heavily populated, when things start to ratchet up, take the weekend off.
That's right.
Go, hey, family, let's go. We're going to go see grandma or whatever. And you just go. And you're not really planning on just staying there, but it's better to be unprepared in a safer area than prepared when all hell's breaking loose and you can lose everything.
Yep.
Arc Royal asks, question, I've taken care of food for 6 months, water for 3. Should I buy another 3 months of water or invest in a gravity water filter system like a Berkey?
Oh, no, definitely.
Yep.
And before you even said it, the Berkey system, or, you know, if you've got something else, but honestly,
something comparable. Yep.
We've been using the Berkey for 10 years plus every day. We use it for our cooking. We use it for water. I mean, we love it. And we've actually upgraded to the Imperial or whatever, the Emperor. It's huge. But water is vital. And the one thing about it is you can store up your water, but if you don't have something to filter water when that runs out. And so, yes, that is, and I like what you're doing. That's great.
Yep.
6 months, 3 months of water, but you definitely get your water taken care of. For us, again, we have rain catchment in with the gutters. And so we can get a continual source of water, but we also have a spring that we're getting ready to develop. In fact, I'm going to put that on video. We're going to do that. And then we have a stream on our property. We're blessed. We're just blessed. But, you know, one thing about water in particular is that if you know, you say, well, I got this river that's down here about a mile away, I can get water. And that's true. That's great. But in a survival situation, you better have some security. You better think about getting down to the water, what you're going to need, you know, how to transport that water from the stream to your house. Water is 8 pounds per gallon, give or take. So it's really heavy.
A mile's a long way. A mile each way is a long way to carry 2 5-gallon buckets of water.
Yeah, how you gonna do it? You have poles that'll handle it if that's the way you got to do it, because you've got to have water.
That's
so
right.
To me, the big Berkey is a no-brainer, and they're $200-300. So definitely great insurance. Plus, it's better every day. You can use it on an everyday basis, and you won't even be able to drink your tap water once you have a Berkey. It makes me want to get sick.
Yeah,
honestly.
all the chlorinated.
Oh, the formaldehyde, whatever's in there.
DZ Wren asked, what is a good discreet bug out bag to use? I was looking at a small shoulder bags that didn't look too milster.
You know what I use? I've got a North Face backpack that's got the pack frame built into it, the padded pack frame built into the back of it. That is my day bag. It's red, bright fire engine red. It stands out like a sore thumb, but does not look like anything tactical. You know, somebody sees that and they're just like, yeah, it's just some yuppie vacationing or whatever.
Some homeless dude.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you know, it doesn't stand out like all of your tactical bags and stuff do. And I tend to go with colors other than green, tan, black. You know, I try and go with other colors like your yellows, your oranges, your blues and stuff like that, because it's more gray in your general public than what your greens and tans and blacks are.
Now, if I was going to do that bright color, which I don't, but if I was going to do that color, I would have a cover. So you might want to have a cover put in if you want to go with that brighter color, because you may need to be more covert. Now, me personally, I mean, here's the facts, you know, because people used to say this all the time. He's got to, shoot me first backpack, or he's got to shoot me first this or that. I don't necessarily, I see the benefit of what he's talking about. But for me, having just an earth tone backpack that maybe not have a whole lot of moly on it, and there's a ton of different ones out there, they're still good, sturdy packs. Maxpedition's making a lot of those bags that really kind of blend with both. And I don't put a lot of stuff on the outside of my packs anyway. No. So, moly is, maybe some is okay, but I don't really care for a whole bunch. But I like to have a good backpack that kind of blends in, but everybody else is, that's what's popular. So a lot of people are carrying these backpacks that are a little bit, but I would look, like Robbie said, we have some really nice Arc'teryx bags and Osprey and some of those that you find, at REI, or you find at a really nice store.
A lot of your backpacking stuff is great day packs or 3-day packs, because they're built to be able to wear them for a long time and be comfortable for a long time, which is one of the reasons why I chose the one that I have, is because I can put it on and I can carry that pack with 40 pounds in it all day long
Right.
and not be fatigued from it.
Right.
So you have to look for a pack that's going to allow you not just to blend in, but something that's going to be comfortable for you to wear with some weight in it for a longer extended period of time.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know, the gray man does come into effect again. It can be the gray man by wearing something bright.
Yep.
It can be the gray man by just staying out of situations.
Sometimes you can stand out, you can blend in by standing out.
Right, right. Okay. Well, I really appreciate your questions because I know it was kind of heavy today, and we got through most of it, but there was some, and you know what, by the time we got into where we were, I was kind of like, you know, this is getting depressing. So it's really great for you guys to have questions, because that's the reason we're here, is hopefully to kind of give you some answers for those who are looking ahead and want to prepare, or we want to inspire you, because guys, you definitely need to take the time to be prepared. I mean, in the world we live in, we've seen the craziest, most just volatile stuff happening. And, you know, to make sure that you have your essentials, your food, your water, your medical, your gun, you know, your self-defense. And guys, a lot of times can't have self-defense for, you know, even here in this country, there's certain things that they have to deal with, but find something, you know, whether it's a flashlight. That's one of the things I always talk about, is if you're looking for a non-lethal and you can't have a gun, or really you should carry one anyway, because the gun is, you know, when you have a gun, you know, it's like when you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Same thing with a gun. So you need to have some other options, pepper spray, things like that. So, you know, just being versatile, thinking about things through. But the biggest thing, guys, the biggest thing is mindset. And you need to have a solid mindset, prepare your mind. So when things do go south, I don't care how much mindset you have. When things go south, it's going to be tough. But if you've prepared your mind, then when things happen, you're not going, what? What in the world? What in the world? So, you know, you actually have a plan. You have some thoughts about how you're going to do. And two, let's just say you have a pantry full, just your pantry. You've got that. And that's better than having nothing. So, guys, just make sure that as things happen, as things seem to be unfolding in different ways, there are a lot of good signs. So don't be discouraged. Be encouraged to take action and stand for what you believe in. Keep your congressmen and senators, even if they are super left, keep them
on speed dial.
That's right. Keep them going. Keep it, because it does affect them. It does affect them. We really appreciate Sarah Mack over there monitoring the questions. And of course, having Robbie Wheaton here is always a pleasure. Check out WheatonArms.com. Great Glock aftermarket parts. He also does some excellent custom gun work. And you can go to WheatonArms.com and check that out. Also, Go Med Gear, really cool stuff that'll get you prepared and have you ready. Because, guys, never before have you needed medical gear more than you need right now, just in case. And we just really appreciate Exotac. Again, you get 20% off. Man, Exotac is the best out there. I've actually meant to have some of their fire starters. They do some really cool designs, the most innovative on the market. And they are excellent. And they're 20% off using Sootch 00 with the link down below in the description. And
it's the hottest deal out there.
It is. It's just I mean, I've always loved Exotac.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I have a buddy of mine actually that works there, and Chris, and I've known him for years. And so he said, hey, man, he goes, why don't we kind of work together? Because you use them all the time. So we'll send you a few and you can do. And so that was really great. But I've been using Exotac way before any kind of, you know, their affiliates or anything like that, because I really believe in it.
And for those of you that live in California, you know, just remember, today is your recall election day. Make sure that you get out and vote today.
That's right. Don't give up, guys. Don't give up. Keep the fight. Keep fighting the good fight, and just get yourself prepared. And then if you don't need it, then you've got extra money because you don't have to go to the grocery store, and you can eat like a king for a month. Be strong. Be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.